welcome to another episode of Wetlands Zone 1. Today, we've got a shovel and we're going to go dig up a trifoliate orange in another wetlands area that's maybe a little too wet for it. And we're going to put it somewhere over here. We're not going to put them with our more edible, citrus plants, but maybe off in the distance somewhere. Maybe way back there, maybe where the L comes out there. We will see. I did put this guy and the little L there. So this is where the pecan is over there and the Himalayan mulberry is. A little bit of sun, a little bit of shade. Did not have much roots on it, probably because it was just so wet where it was. It just, couldn't grow down without just stressing and just about dying. So it may not even survive transplanting it, but it was doing no good where it was. A little clump of arrowroot right here, kind of near the tea plants, and got the malanga, the soybeans, potatoes, sweet potatoes. Yeah, kind of a little bit higher up here where the ground is built up, so we'll see if this is not too wet for it or not. All right, so this is our orange seedling. Looks like it's got some orange glory vines on it. Has two trunks. It possibly could be because he got mowed down, a few times. So it's probably at least 6 years old. It could be 8 or 10. So we're probably looking at the maximum wait time, maybe 5 years before this guy blooms and produces fruit. This is a seedling, most likely, of our really good orange that we've enjoyed for since 91, 92. And that tree is in decline, so there's no better way to try to have it again than to have it from the same tree, I guess. So this is going to be kind of a citrus circle. These are only 5 or 6 foot apart. If we have to prune them, so that they ain't touching each other, that's fine. And if they produce fruit that's inferior, we could either graft them or chop them out. So this guy, that guy there is the cocktail grapefruit, which may or may not be worth a darn once it actually starts producing. We're starting another citrumelo for this area. And we may or may not get a sugar bell, but for the most part, I think we're done with this area for citrus though. So 1 to 2 more. So we got the trifoliate and completely 50-60 feet away from here. That's it's in a spot where if it survives, produces fruit for seedlings or teas or whatever, that's fine, or marmalades. Not many people use trifoliate orange, but we don't know how all these are going to take a citrus screening either. So, there's no use investing a whole lot of money in citrus when we can have most of them for free here. And we can just experiment. Here it is in the ground. We're going to water it, pack some more soil around it and stuff. Maybe clean up some of these orange glory vines off. Even though if they're not touching the ground, they shouldn't root or anything. They just dry up, I guess, and die. It's going to be a pretty plant as long as it survives. So one of the new plants I got is a grafted Himalayan mulberry. This is the rootstock here, kind of the nurse or mother tree. He said let this grow for a little while to provide nutrients and all for this graft. And it's possible the second graft could come up later. So he was hesitant to sell it to me, but he said he thought it would be okay. Just leave the nurse plant on there. As this gets bigger, we can just slowly clip away all of the rootstock leaves and stuff away from it if it does okay. So the reason why they graft these is nematodes apparently aren't a problem in Florida with this particular variety and a few other varieties. I do not know if it's the same as fig trees where you if you're in dry, sandy area where nematodes are a problem, but you're in like swamp muck and acidic soil where it's not. I don't know if it's a different type of root nematode, but it's grafted, and let's just see how it does. And you know, we can always experiment later if this guy does well, and just take a cutting and just put a rooted cutting in the ground here in the swamp, or borderland swamp soil, whatever you want to call it. We're basically at the back fence, the furthermost perimeter of the Wetlands Zone 1 here. So there we go, watered in, tapped in a little bit. It looks like a very nice tree. One thing I do note in this specific area on Wetlands Zone 1, the dirt is not as dark. It's more gray, so kind of white sand and a little bit of the dark silt, dirt, muck, whatever, dried swamp muck. And so pretty much 0 earthworms in it right now. So maybe it's all the weeds and all the mulberry trees and elderberries that are everywhere just taking the fertility out of it. So we'll probably add some mulch and compost and stuff and try to make this guy happy. Well, that's about it for today's episode of Wetlands Zone 1. I do not know when we're going to plant the cherry or Rio Grande, and I got another yellow cattley guava that's supposed to be more cold hardy than the Echo Yellow, which are, you know, I got a 3-gallon size Echo Yellow a few weeks ago, which is more cold sensitive supposedly. But this other one is just pretty much, you know, like an 8-inch plant, which is kind of small. He said plant it in the ground, and if it, you know, freezes even this, you know, this year or early 2024, that it'll still probably come back from the ground. Got other stuff like the cassavas that I really need to mound up high. And let's see, what else do I have? I say cherry of the Rio Grande, which is pretty small. I got to do a little more research and see if it's okay to plant now. It supposedly likes wet feet. Yeah, we planted this Himalayan mulberry. We planted a trifoliate orange. We planted some arrowroots, and we planted that orange seedling from our don't even know the cultivar name. So cross our fingers and hope for the best.